Okay, on to step 14. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to attach this piece to that. Okay. One thing to note though is that it points it out in the manual right in there. One of these little tiny nuts has to go in there. So what I do is I'm going to take one of these long screws and just thread it on there a little bit, and now I can pop it into place. Okay, there you go. You gotta kind of push it in a little bit, but you can probably see it in there. There it is, yeah. Okay, so don't forget to put that in. And now what we're gonna do is take all this, there it goes. Go ahead to snap that together. Move things around a little bit, make sure nothing's bound up. And we're just gonna put the screws in the way the manual says. Step 16. Alright, notice another tricky 10mm. Okay. So I measured that out and I've got the parts here. You need 2 of these little spacers, and then the 20, 2 30 mils, and then that weird 10, and then these 2 plastic parts off the parts tree. I went ahead and put the pinion on. It's Loctited, of course, and the way you can check to see whether you have it in the right position or not is there's this little window here that's still, it's not obscured, and you can see there that my gear mesh is good. Okay, so you can just look in there, and you don't want, you know, only half of the gear engaging the spur. You want, or the pinion engaging the spur. You want as much as you can get. That way you don't strip it out. So I'm going to go ahead and put those screws in where the manual says to. That completes one axle, one gearbox, and you'll end up with 2 of these. Step 20 is simply going to be Loctite and install 2 of these at the top like that. For each side, and do it for all these brackets. Okay, step 18. This one took me just a second to figure out. I'm going to show you how it works. You've got these 2 brackets. Okay. And you got these end pieces. And notice this side is recessed. So how it works, as you can see, I got that piece on the left side of that ball. And sorry, I'm confusing myself. This will go on like so. Then that goes on there. You line everything up, and then you put 3 screws in with nuts on the back. I'm going to definitely do that off camera, but you get the idea. We'll do that for both of these, and then also the other transmission. Step 19. We'll cut out these pieces. Basically what happens is this blue guy, F8, is going to go here like so. It's pointed in a downward direction there. 2 screws. Number 9 will go on the opposite side, pointed down towards the center. And then these guys here, shows these in the manual as C6. Click in there to finish up that that joint. And on the previous thing I didn't mention, you can see it though, they wanted you to grease the ball that this is in, this ball and cup. So we'll get those screws done. Step 20. I went ahead and did it, and I'm going to show you how it works. The 3x6s go into these metal brackets. Okay, notice this one's got 3 holes on this side, and on this side this one's got 4. They're different sizes, and the screw goes right in there through this knuckle thing, and you screw your 2 brackets on, and then the 3rd screw with the washer, the tapper, goes right there, and it connects the transmission box to this blue support, and then you do that 2 times. Okay, step 21. I'll take one of our axles here, put a little bit of grease on the shaft. Okay. Take one of our so-called bearings, put some grease on that. Slide them together. That will then go inside this piece as such. On this side we'll add a little bit more grease. And to a bearing as well. Bearing goes in. Grease to this side. Flat washer. E-clip. I just use pliers to snap these in. That's a completed piece. And on the back side here, I've already put Loctite on this stud. You take one of these small little nuts. And thread that in. Tighten her down. Easy enough, right? Basically the same thing on this piece, with one difference. Everything's the same. It's kind of like backwards, but it's the same. The only difference is you're going to use this stud on the bottom. Like so. Screw that in. Okay, on to step 22. Okay, step 23. Got it all laid out. We're going to take one of these washers, put a dab of grease on it, take one of these screws, Loctite of course, actually I think this threads into plastic, so we won't need Loctite. My bad. And it says to put a little bit on the shoulder here of that. So get a little grease on there. And the dog bone's going to hook into the axle. I'm going to put a little grease on that axle. I already did on the cup, but I'm going to put it on the dog bone. Okay. And then we also need we need a washer on the bottom too. I might have to put that in right now. I'm going to hope that the grease kind of holds the washer in place while I align everything. Looks like it's going to. Okay, now we're ready. What I'm about to do, it's kind of a tight fit here, but there it goes. Okay, there we go. That's in place. It is. So I'm going to do, and then there's one on top, bottom, and then I do the right side over here, and then it all connects together with one of these guys. Step 24. One thing you got to note is you got to decide what's going to be your rear and what's going to be your front gearbox right now. So the one I'm showing right now is going to be the rear, and the only difference is when you put the steering servo together, the rear is different than the front slightly. So what we do is we take this piece that we made up earlier, a bushing and one of the small springs, it goes through like that. For rear, it's going to point to the left. Okay. The left if you're looking like, this way, left. This piece then will go the opposite way. And then you'll take your long screw here, that'll go up through the bottom, and then you'll put your lock nut on the top. Okay, so that's when the servo saver is installed, that's what it ends up looking like. Note, when you go to put the bolt through the bottom here, put the bolt through the bottom piece first, and then work it in, and then you'll put the top chunk of the servo saver on with your spring, your bushing, and your lock nut. Tighten it down. The manual says 3.5 millimeter. Alright, and obviously you could adjust that when you're racing or whatever, but I'm going to start with 3.5. Okay, step 25 is assembling these bumpers. You'll make 2 of them, of course. Everything's double for now. And it's really self-explanatory. You can see how the nuts and screws go, and you want these oriented this way, round end in. Now we're just going to align it here. There we go. Okay. It'll be just like that, and then you can see it is also going to tie in these metal brackets when you screw the cage in.